Welcome back, Captain. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and stay till the end, because today, we're imagining the most powerful naval duel the world never saw. Two steel giants from opposite sides of the war, the Japanese Yamato and the German Bismarck, face each other in a one-on-one battle for supremacy. No allies. No aircraft. No mercy. Just two titans of steel, trading blows until only one remains. It's 1942. The Pacific is on fire, the Atlantic drowning in chaos. But somewhere, in a world that never was, the two greatest war machines in human history meet on neutral seas, the Yamato, pride of the Imperial Japanese Navy, and the Bismarck, Germany's fearsome Atlantic predator. The ocean is calm. The wind still. The radar screens flicker to life. And then, through the fog, two silhouettes. The Bismarck, 50,000 tons of German precision and discipline, sleek and fast, built to hunt. The Yamato, 70,000 tons of pure Japanese power, carrying the largest naval guns ever made, 460mm monsters that could punch through anything afloat. Both ships turn slowly, broadside to broadside. The distance, 20 miles. The time, dawn. The world holds its breath. The first salvo comes from the Bismarck, her 380mm guns roar, fireballs lighting the gray horizon. Shells arc high, landing near Yamato's bow, towering plumes of water exploding skyward. Seconds later, Yamato answers. Her 18-inch guns unleash thunder itself, 9 shells the size of small cars tear through the sky. The shockwave rolls across the ocean, shaking the very air. When the shells land, the Bismarck shudders. One round punches through her upper deck, another slams into her side armor, cratering steel 3 feet thick. But she holds. The German damage control teams work like machines, sealing compartments, returning fire. Both ships begin to circle, each trying to gain the range advantage. The Bismarck is faster, 30 knots to Yamato's 27, and her gunnery radar gives her a deadly edge at mid-range. But Yamato's guns outrange everything ever built, and when she finds her mark, nothing survives. The duel becomes a storm. Shells crash down like meteors, water boils around them, decks burn, towers collapse. The Bismarck's fire control tower takes a direct hit, destroyed. Her secondary batteries keep firing, defiant, even as her speed begins to drop. Then Yamato takes her turn. A German shell smashes into her pagoda tower, killing dozens and destroying her rangefinder. Another penetrates her forward turret housing. Fires erupt, ammunition cooks off, black smoke rolls from her decks, but she refuses to slow down. At 10 miles, both ships are bleeding, both half-crippled, but still fighting like living creatures made of fury and pride. The sea glows with fire, wreckage floats between them, and still, the guns roar. And that, Captain, is where history pauses. Because this battle never happened, but if it had, the outcome might have changed everything we thought we knew about naval warfare. The ocean burns. Smoke covers the horizon as the two greatest battleships in history continue their duel, Yamato against Bismarck. Both are wounded, but neither willing to die. The air trembles with every blast, each salvo echoing like thunder through the void of the sea. It's no longer a battle, it's a test of gods. At 20 kilometers, Yamato's main guns reload. The Japanese gunners work in silence, their faces streaked with sweat and soot. The ship's captain, Vice Admiral Chiaki Matsuda, gives the order, fire all guns. 9 18.1-inch shells roar through the mist, the largest projectiles ever fired by human hands. They fall like meteors. 2 land short, 1 glances off the water, but the 4th finds its mark. It hits the Bismarck just below her forward turrets, cracking open her armor belt like a hammer against glass. The explosion blows through 3 decks. Fuel ignites. A column of flame rises skyward as the German crew fights to contain it. Yet somehow, she stays afloat. The Bismarck was built for this. She was built to take punishment and keep fighting. Captain Ernst Lindemann, his uniform torn and bloodied, steadies himself on the bridge. "Return fire," he says calmly. "Target their tower." Bismarck's 8 15-inch guns open up once more. The first salvo misses. The second lands true. One shell smashes directly into Yamato's superstructure, blowing apart her rangefinder and radar. Another hits her pagoda mast, killing dozens instantly. Shrapnel rains across her bridge. Smoke blinds her forward gunners, but the Japanese fire by instinct now. At 15 kilometers, both ships are heavily damaged. Bismarck's forward turrets are crippled. Yamato's deck burns like a floating volcano. The sea itself glows red with reflection. Every time the Bismarck fires, the Yamato answers, and every hit feels like the last. Then fate intervenes. Yamato's armor, unmatched in the world, begins to prove its worth. Shells slam into her sides and bounce off harmlessly, exploding above the waterline. Her bulkheads hold. Her gunners, now operating half-blind, still manage to zero in. At 12 kilometers, one of her shells hits Bismarck's stern, detonating near the steering gear. The German giant shudders, her rudder jams. She begins to turn slowly, helplessly, to port. Lindemann knows the feeling all too well. History repeats itself. The Bismarck tries to continue firing, but her aim drifts. Her speed drops. She becomes a wounded predator, circling in her own blood. Yamato closes the distance, 10 kilometers. 8. 6. Her secondary guns, the 6-inch batteries, open up, raking the Bismarck's superstructure with fire. Inside Bismarck, chaos reigns. Fire races through her fuel lines. Ammunition cooks off in the aft turret. Still, she refuses to die quietly. Her last salvo lands true. One shell plunges through Yamato's forward deck, piercing into the bow magazines. The explosion rocks the Japanese Titan, tearing her open nearly to the waterline. Both ships are burning now, 2 floating suns on a sea of flame. The crews fight not for victory, but for pride. Lindemann gives one final command: ceasefire. Save yourselves. Then he steps out onto the bridge, watching the Yamato through the smoke. Aboard Yamato, Matsuda bows his head. He knows the end is near for both. "All engines, full ahead," he says. "For the Empire." The Yamato, half-sinking, charges the Bismarck head-on. The two giants collide amid waves of fire. The impact sends a roar across the ocean. Steel grinds against steel, turrets twist, decks buckle. Moments later, Yamato's ammunition detonates deep inside her hull. A massive explosion splits her apart. The fireball rises 1,000 feet into the sky, then vanishes, leaving only boiling water. The shockwave finishes the Bismarck. Her hull cracks, her guns fall silent. Slowly, gracefully, she slips beneath the waves, her crew singing the German naval hymn as she goes under. When the smoke clears, there are no victors. Only wreckage. The ocean grows calm again, swallowing both legends without a trace. The Yamato and Bismarck, two titans from different worlds, united in death, equal in courage. Neither surrendered. Neither yielded. And somewhere, deep beneath the waves, their ghosts still circle, locked forever in the duel that history never gave them. The ultimate battleship duel, Yamato versus Bismarck. No survivors. Only legends. Years passed, and the world above forgot the thunder that once shook the ocean. But deep beneath the waves, where sunlight fades and time stands still, two steel leviathans rest side by side, the Yamato and the Bismarck, their hulls draped in coral and silence. The sea turned their wounds into monuments, their ruins into cathedrals of history. Divers who have ventured close to these depths report something eerie: their instruments malfunction, compasses spin wildly, and sometimes, in the static of the sonar, two faint shapes appear facing one another, as if still locked in battle. Some call it coincidence. Others say the ghosts of these ships never left the fight. Historians and naval engineers debated for decades who would have truly won had this duel been real. On paper, the Yamato's guns were unmatched. Her 18.1-inch shells could penetrate any armor on Earth, and her protection was nearly impenetrable below the waterline. Yet the Bismarck had the superior targeting systems, faster speed, and German precision that allowed her to strike accurately even in storm or darkness. It was brute force against surgical engineering, the hammer versus the scalpel. If the battle had continued beyond endurance, many believe Yamato's heavier firepower would have eventually broken Bismarck's defenses. But others argue that Bismarck's speed and accuracy could have crippled Yamato's vital systems before those monstrous guns ever finished their work. In truth, the outcome would depend on the sea, the weather, even the first lucky hit, like the gods of war flipping a coin in the storm. Still, both ships shared something greater than victory: the tragedy of design. They were masterpieces built for a kind of war that was already dying. In the real world, neither the Yamato nor the Bismarck fell to another battleship. Both were destroyed by air power, by the new rulers of the sea, the aircraft carriers. The age of battleships ended with them, but their legends outlived the empires that made them. Today, when sailors cross the Pacific or the North Atlantic, they sometimes leave flowers on the waves, one for the Yamato, one for the Bismarck. Two enemies who never met, but whose destinies mirrored each other: pride, power, and a fall worthy of myth. If they had fought, the world might have witnessed the greatest duel ever waged by men and machines. But perhaps it's better that they didn't. Because this way, neither of them lost. Both remain undefeated, frozen forever in imagination, the kings of an ocean that remembers every roar, every flame, every soul. Yamato versus Bismarck, the battle that never happened, but never died. And so, in the endless silence of the deep, the Yamato and the Bismarck rest not as wrecks, but as monuments. The ocean holds them gently now, side by side beneath miles of water, where time has no meaning. No flags, no enemies, no nations, only steel, salt, and memory. Above them, the surface glimmers like a mirror to the past. The world that built them is gone, the empires that forged them, the men who sailed them, the war that demanded them. But their stories remain, whispered by the waves and carried by the wind across the seas they once ruled. When storms rage over the Atlantic or typhoons tear across the Pacific, sailors still say the giants stir, two ghosts awakening, their spirits meeting once more in the heart of the storm. In the end, neither ship was ever truly defeated. Both stood as symbols of human ambition, courage, and tragedy, two titans built to challenge the gods and lost only to time itself. And if one day, you find yourself standing on a quiet shore, watching the sea stretch endlessly toward the horizon, listen closely. You might just hear it, the echo of distant thunder, two salvos rolling across eternity. The Yamato and the Bismarck, the last kings of the sea. Forever rivals. Forever legends.